Story 1. The Tehran Pursuit. I've always lived for the sky. Nothing beats the roar of engines, the rush of breaking the sound barrier, the world shrinking below. Last spring, I was stationed at a small airbase in southern Arizona. Dusty runways, cinderblock hangars, a patch of desert surrounded by jagged peaks, the kind of place where secrets hum in the heat. I'd been a pilot for 8 years, F-16s mostly. Combat runs overseas, now flying patrols for a base nobody talks about. Just me and a skeleton crew under a sky that burned red at dusk. My quarters were basic. Metal bunk, a locker, a desk with a flickering lamp, a window facing the runway, where jets slept under tarps, engines cold until called. I settled in fast, unpacked my flight suit, pinned a photo of my old squadron, fell into a rhythm of drills and quiet nights, the desert my canvas, the jet my brush. Days were routine. Test, flights, radar sweeps, debriefs in a room that smelled of coffee and sweat. Nights were still, just the whine of coyotes and the hum of generators beyond the fence. The base was remote. Locals stayed clear, rumors of black projects swirling, the occasional chopper buzzing. But by April 2025, the chatter died, leaving me alone with the sky, a solitude I craved. One night I was in the ready room, charts spread, boots up, when the call hit, sharp and urgent, a voice crackling over the comms about lights over the perimeter, fast and wrong. I bolted, grabbed my helmet, sprinted to the hangar, saw them through the bay doors, 3 orbs, blazing white, hovering low, pulsing like they were alive, silent over the sand. "Scramble! Intercept!" barked Control. Major Reese, a hard-ass with a buzz cut, voice tight, hand slamming the console as I climbed into the cockpit. Engines roared, canopy, locked, gauges lit. I taxied out, jets screaming, runway blurring, the orbs darting east, mocking me with speed no craft should have. Airborne. I punched the throttle, afterburners kicking, horizon tilting, locked radar, got nothing, just static, the orbs weaving, splitting, reforming like liquid fire in the dark. Visual. Closing. I radioed. Kept it steady, eyes on the lead orb. 5 miles out. 4, 3. Its glow searing my retinas, a hum vibrating my bones through the hull. Instruments flickered. Altimeter. Spun. Comms hissed. Orb banked hard, doubled back. I yanked the stick, matched it, sweat stinging my eyes. Adrenaline spiking hot. "Lost lock. Evasive," crackled Reese. Voice cutting out. Orb shot up. Straight up, I followed. G-forces crushing my chest. Sky blackening as the stars blurred. 10,000 feet. 15, 20. It stopped. Hung. There, pulsing faster. I fired a burst. Tracers arcing, swallowed by its light. No hit. No sound. Just a whine drilling my skull. Lights died. Cockpit dark. Screens blank. Orb pulsed once. Bright, blinding. Heat washing over me. Hands burning on the stick. Leather gloves smoking, peeling back. It vanished. Winked out. Sky empty. I wrestled the jet. Dead stick. Gliding blind. Engines choking. Base. Lights a faint smear below as I nursed it down. Landed hard. Gear screeching. Tail skidding. Crawled out. Hands raw. Red. Blistered. Reese and Tex swarming. Shouting. But I heard nothing. Just that hum echoing deep. Debrief was chaos. Reese, pacing, Tex scanning, no radar trace, no wreckage. My hands bandaged. Burn 2nd degree, unexplained. Jet scorched like it had flown through a torch. Sent me home. Quarters dim, bunk cold. I sat, staring at the lamp. Hum still buzzing in my skull. Louder, sharper, like a jet engine idling inside my brain. Next day, I checked the logs. My flight, scrubbed, blank, replaced with routine patrol. Called Reese. Got silence. His office locked. No answer. Just static on the line. Night fell. Couldn't sleep. Hum growing. Stepped outside. Saw it. The orb, hovering over the runway, low, pulsing, watching me with a light that wasn't light, alive and hungry. Ran inside, locked the door, hands shaking, heard it. Engines roaring, my jet, my voice, screaming over comms I hadn't sent, begging me to come back up. Next morning, a tech vanished. Rodriguez, young, cocky. Truck empty by the hangar. Flight suit folded neat. Boots gone, no trace, just sand-scorched black. Days blurred. Hum constant, orb nightly, closer. Found burns on my arms, new, fresh, waking with my gloves on, shredded. Cockpit smell clinging to my skin. Called base. No reply, lines dead. Drove out, found it locked, gates chained, lights off, jets gone, like it had never been. Just desert and silence swallowing it whole. Back home, quarters trashed, lamp smashed, logs. On my desk, not mine, scribbled in jagged script. Glyphs I couldn't read, maps of skies I'd never flown, marked with my name. Night came. Orb outside, inches from the window, glass warping. Heard my voice, warped, pleading. Climb again, engines howling in my head, drowning my screams. Another tech gone, Miller, quiet guy, found his helmet by my door, cracked, burned, his name scratched out, mine carved in, deep, red at the edges. I fought it, stayed in, lights on, hands wrapped, woke with my suit on, boots tied, standing. By the door, keys in my fist, no memory of moving. Hum deafening now. Drove off, 50 miles, new town. Checked a motel, cash down, room dim, thought I'd escaped. But the hum followed, vibrating the walls, orb glowing through the blinds. Next, night, it spoke, my voice, not mine, through the TV, static hissing. You flew too close. Screen burned out, glyphs crawling up the walls, my hands bleeding again. Crew kept vanishing, called their homes, got empty lines, found Reese's badge. In my sink, melted. His name gone. Mine etched in its place. Metal hot to the touch. I burned the logs. Fire flared, glyphs glowed. Orb crashed the window. Glass melting, light flooding. Hands searing, pulling me toward it. Jet roar splitting. My skull fought back, ran, truck screaming, hit a diner. 80 miles out, hid. But the hum tracked me, lights flickering, patrons staring, their eyes reflecting orbs, small, pulsing. Next dawn, woke in the truck, parked at the base, gates open, jet there, mine, engines hot, logs rewritten, every page. My name, every flight a chase, glyphs circling my burns, orb hovered. Low, silent, heard it, my voice. One more climb. Crew's faces in its light, eyeless, screaming, hands reaching from the glow, pulling me to the cockpit. Cops came, called it stress, locked me up, cell cold. But the hum stayed, orb outside. The bars, logs in my bunk, rewritten, my name in every line, burns spreading fast. They let me out, psych eval, delusions. Moved north, 200 miles, new place. But last night, the orb hit my roof, hum shaking the walls, jet roar in my ears. Miss, me? Logs under my door, glyphs wet, red. I hear engines now, circling my house, my voice calling, promising the sky, promising no return. They say it's over. Docs show me charts, but I see that light in every shadow, hear that roar in every gust, feel those burns crawling up my arms. I don't sleep. Keep the lights on, hands wrapped, doors locked, but the logs keep coming, one every night. each one darker, hungrier, heavier. Last flight, that's the latest, left last night. Paper pinned with a bolt, dripping red at the edges, staining my floor. Engines, revving outside. I've got a gun now, loaded by the bed. But the hum doesn't stop. The orb waits, and I know it's out there, calling me back to the sky, to finish what I started. Story 2, the Pascagoula Catch. I've always been tied to the water, rivers, docks, the smell of fish and mud. It's where I feel alive, grounded. Last summer, I worked the docks in coastal Mississippi, 2025, a humid sprawl of piers and warehouses, boats creaking against the Gulf, a job I'd held since I could lift a crate. The gig was rough, loading shrimp hauls, patching nets, living in a shack by the river, surrounded by marshes that buzzed with bugs and glowed green at dusk. The shack was a dump, wood walls warped by salt, a cot with a sagging mattress, a kitchen with a stove that smoked, a window facing the water where gators slid silent under. The surface. I settled in quick, unpacked my tackle, hung a lantern, fell into a rhythm of long days and late fishing, the river my escape after the grind of the docks. Days were heavy, hauling ice, stacking boxes, dodging foremen who barked. Nights were mine, just the lap of waves and the croak of bullfrogs echoing through the reeds. The coast was alive, shrimpers in oilskins, kids with crab traps, the occasional barge chugging. But by July, the bustle slowed, leaving me alone with the water, a quiet I'd earned. One evening I was fishing off the pier, line cast, beer sweating, when it hit. A light, blinding, slicing, the dusk, a craft hovering low over the river, humming like a swarm of wasps trapped in steel. I froze, saw it, oval, glowing blue, no wings, no sound, but that hum, hovering 10 feet up, water rippling below, reeds bending flat, air thick with static and ozone. Storm? I muttered, kept it low, hand on my rod. Then it moved, fast, darting over me, light searing my eyes, pole jerking like it had hooked a live wire. Legs locked, couldn't move, couldn't yell. Craft pulsed, 3 arms shot out. Metal, clawed, glinting wet, snatching me up, dragging me through the air, cold and sharp. Inside, dark, wet, walls pulsing like flesh. I hung, pinned, claws jabbing my arms, tools clicking, cold, slicing shallow, a whine drilling my skull, eyes blind in the glow. Voices, not voices, clicks, hisses, probed me, skin crawling, blood trickling. Then it dropped me, limp back to the pier, reeking of metal and rot, river black under the sky. Stumbled home, shack dim, hands shaking. Mirror showed cuts, thin, red on my arms. No memory of fighting, just that hum echoing deep, louder in the dark. Next day I checked the pier. No boat, no tracks, reeds burned black. Called my boss, got laughs. Too much sun. But my hands trembled, cuts oozing, unexplained. Night fell. Couldn't sleep. Hum growing. Stepped outside. Saw it. The craft. Hovering over the marsh. Low, pulsing. Watching me with a light that burned my skin from afar. Ran inside. Bolted. The door, breath ragged. Heard it, claws scraping. My voice warped, moaning from the river, begging me to come back in. Next morning, a deckhand vanished. Tommy, loud, brash. Boat drifting empty, nets slashed, blood pooling on the deck. No body, just marsh scorched in a circle. Days blurred, hum constant, craft nightly, closer. Found scales on my arms, silver. Hard, peeling skin away, waking with mud on my boots, no memory of walking. Called the sheriff, no answer, station locked. Drove out, found it shut, lights off. Town quiet, like it had emptied out. Just reeds and silence swallowing it whole. Back. Home, shack trashed. Cot flipped. Found a net on my floor, not mine, knotted with glyphs, wet with river slime. My name scratched into the rope, deep and red. Night came, craft outside, inches from the window, glass cracking, heard my voice, twisted, pleading. Swim again. Hum splitting my skull, drowning my screams. Another man gone. Jasper, old-timer, found his hat by my shack, soaked, burned. His name scratched out, mine carved in, jagged, dripping wet at the edges. I fought it, stayed in, lantern blazing. Woke with my rod in hand, barefoot by the pier, scales spreading, no memory of leaving. Hum deafening now. Fled, 30 miles, new town. Checked a motel, cash down, room stale. Thought I'd outrun it. But the hum followed, shaking the walls, craft glowing through the curtains. Next night it spoke, my voice, not mine, through the sink, water gurgling. You're caught. Pipes burst, glyphs crawling up the walls, scales bleeding on my chest. Crew kept vanishing, called their lines, got static, found Tommy's knife in my yard, rusted, his name gone, mine etched in its place, metal warm to the touch. I burned the net. Fire flared. Glyphs glowed, craft crashed the roof, light flooding, scales searing, pulling me toward it, river roar splitting my skull. Fought back, ran, truck screaming, hit a bar, 50 miles out, hid. But the hum tracked me, lights dimming, drinkers staring, their skin reflecting scales, small, gleaming. Next dawn, woke by the river, parked at the pier, shack open, craft there, hovering, nets hanging, glyphs circling my cuts, scales climbing my neck fast. Craft loomed, low, silent, heard it, my voice. One more catch. Crew's faces in its light, eyeless, clawing, hands reaching from the glow, dragging me to the water. Cops came, called it drugs, locked me up, cell damp. But the hum stayed. Craft outside the bars, nets in my bunk, rewritten, my name in every knot, scales spreading quick. They let me out. Eval, hallucinations, moved south, 100 miles, new shack. But last night, the craft hit my porch, hum shaking the floor, river roar in my ears. Miss me? Nets under my door, glyphs wet, red. I hear claws now, circling my shack, my voice calling, promising the water, promising no escape. They say it's done. Docs show me scans, but I see that light in every ripple, hear that hum in every wave, feel those scales crawling up my throat. I don't sleep, keep the lantern on. Hands wrapped, doors locked. But the nets keep coming, one every night, each one tighter, hungrier, heavier. Last haul, that's the latest. Left last night, rope pinned with a hook, dripping red at the edges, staining my floor. Claws, tapping outside. I've got a shotgun now, loaded by the cot, but the hum doesn't stop. The craft waits, and I know it's out there, pulling me back to the river to finish what it started. Story 3, The Roswell Whisper. I've always been a bookworm. Old pages, dusty shelves, the smell of ink and time. It's where I feel safe, rooted. Last fall, I took a job at a small library in eastern New Mexico, 2025, a quiet town of adobe, houses and wind-scoured plains, a place where history lingers like a ghost in the sand. The gig was perfect. Sorting stacks, cataloging donations, living in a rented bungalow off Main Street, surrounded by scrubland that stretched flat and endless. Under the stars. The house was modest, stucco walls, a creaky floor, a kitchen with a kettle that whistled, a window facing the desert where tumbleweeds rolled silent in the dusk. I settled in fast, unpacked my novels, set up a reading lamp, fell into a rhythm of slow days and quiet nights. The library, my sanctuary after years in loud cities. Days were calm, shelving returns, helping retirees with microfiche, dusting shelves. Nights were still, just the hum of crickets and the rustle of wind through mesquite outside. The town was sleepy, ranchers in boots, kids on bikes, the occasional truck rattling. But by October, the bustle faded, leaving me alone with the books, a peace I'd craved. One afternoon, I was sorting a donation box, old journals, cracked spines, when I found it, a leather notebook, 1947, pages brittle, scribbled with frantic notes about a crash in the desert, something that spoke through the dirt. I flipped it, read of a rancher, a wreck, black ichor pooling, whispers rising from the sand, glyphs no one could name. Heart thudding, I tucked it under my arm, curious, unsettled. Junk, I muttered, kept it low, hand on the cover. Thought it was a prank. A local's tall tale, but the ink felt alive, warm, like it had been written yesterday. Took it home, bungalow dim, lamp flickering, pored over it, words twisting. It sees, it knows, my skin prickling, a hum seeping from the pages, low and wrong. Night fell, couldn't sleep, hum growing, stepped outside, heard it, a whisper, soft from the scrub, my name, slow, curling like smoke through the dark. Ran inside, locked the door, hands shaking, flipped the journal, saw glyphs shift, bleed, mirror cracking. My reflection warped, eyes too many, staring back. Next day I dug, checked the stacks, found nothing, called. The donor got a deadline, town quiet. But the hum followed, vibrating the shelves, whispering my name again. Dusk came, stepped out, saw it, a glow, faint, under the sand by my house, knelt, clawed, unearthed a shard, black, pulsing, warm, glyphs writhing like veins across its face. Held it, felt it. A voice, not mine, ancient. You found us. Skull splitting, eyes watering. Dropped it, stumbled back, sand hissing where it fell, alive and hungry. Next morning, a clerk vanished. Mrs. Hale, gray, kind, desk empty, chair cold, books scattered. Her name scratched into the wood, faint, red at the edges. Days blurred, hum constant, shard nightly, closer. Found marks on my arms, thin, black, tracing veins, waking with sand in my bed. No memory of digging. Called the sheriff. No answer. Office shut, drove out, found it dark, blinds down, town silent, like it had emptied out. Just whined and whispers swallowing it whole. Back home, bungalow trashed, lamp smashed, found the journal open, not mine. Pages filled with glyphs, wet with ichor. My name in every line, deep and dark. Night came, shard outside, inches from the window glass bending. Heard it, my voice, warped, chanting. We see. Hum drilling my skull, drowning my screams. Another gone. Tom, the janitor, found his keys by my door. Twisted, burned, his name scratched out, mine carved in, jagged, dripping black at the edges. I fought it, stayed in, lights blazing, woke with the shard in hand, barefoot in the yard, marks spreading, no memory of moving, hum deafening now. Fled, 40 miles, new town, checked a motel, cash down, room stale, thought I'd escaped. But the hum followed, shaking the walls, shard glowing through the blinds. Next night it spoke. My voice, not mine, through the walls. You brought us. Plaster cracked, glyphs crawling up, marks bleeding on my chest, multi-eyed in the mirror. Friends kept vanishing. Called their homes, got silence. Found Hale's glasses in my sink. Melted. Her name gone, mine etched in their place, glass hot to the touch. I burned the journal. Fire flared, glyphs glowed, shard crashed the window, light flooding, marks searing, pulling me toward it. Whispers splitting my skull. Fought back, ran, car screaming. Hit a diner 60 miles out. Hid. But the hum tracked me. Lights flickering, patrons staring, their shadows stretching long, eyeless. Next dawn, woke in the yard, parked at the bungalow. Door open, shard there, pulsing, glyphs circling my marks, sand climbing my legs fast. Shard loomed, low, alive, heard it, my voice. One more page, town's faces in its glow, eyeless, reaching, hands pulling from the light, dragging me to the sand. Cops came, called it stress, locked me up, cell cold, but the hum stayed. Shard outside the bars, journal in my bunk, rewritten, my name in every glyph, marks spreading quick. They let me out. Eval, delusions, moved west, 120 miles, new place. But last night, the shard hit my porch, hum shaking the floor, whispers, in my ears, miss us? Journal under my door, glyphs wet, black. I hear voices now, circling my house, my name chanting, promising the stars, promising no end. They say it's over. Docs show me files, but I see that glow in every shadow, hear that hum in every gust, feel those marks crawling up my throat. I don't sleep, keep the lights on, hands wrapped, doors locked, but the pages keep coming, one every night, each one darker, hungrier, heavier. Last word. That's the latest. Left last night, paper pinned with a thorn, dripping black at the edges, staining my floor. Whispers, tapping outside. I've got a knife now, sharp, by the bed. But the hum doesn't stop, the shard waits, and I know it's out there, calling me back to the sand, to finish what I found. Story 4, The Hill Echo. I've always been a wanderer. Trails, peaks, the crunch of leaves underfoot. It's where I find peace, where the world makes sense. Last spring, I moved to northern Vermont, 2025, a land of dense woods and rolling hills. Took up freelancing as a trail mapper, living in a cabin off a dirt road, surrounded by pines that sighed in the wind. The job was simple: charting paths, marking waypoints, sketching maps. My cabin a rustic shell, wood walls, a loft bed, a stove that smoked, a window facing a ravine where mist hung low at dawn. I settled in quick, unpacked my gear, hung a topo map, fell into a rhythm of long hikes and quiet nights. The forest my refuge after years in concrete cages. Days were steady, trekking ridges, logging coordinates, dodging deer. Nights were calm, just the hoot of owls and the rustle of branches brushing the roof. The area was wild, hikers scarce, loggers rumbling miles off, the occasional ranger truck. But by May, the traffic thinned, leaving me alone with the trees, a solitude I'd craved. One evening, I was mapping a ridge, compass spinning, dusk bleeding gold, when I stumbled on it, a stone circle, mossy, humming faint, starlight pooling in its center like liquid silver. I stepped closer, felt it, a pulse, low, vibrating my boots, stones carved with glyphs, worn but sharp, air thick with a buzz that wasn't insects, wasn't wind. Old sight? I muttered. Kept it low, hand on my pack. Thought it was a relic, some forgotten ritual ground, but the hum grew, tugging at my skull, pulling me in. Knelt, touched a stone, cold, alive. Light flared, white, blinding, my head splitting. Then, black, waking on the trail, hours gone, compass cracked, no memory of falling. Stumbled home, cabin dim, hands shaking. Checked my palm, saw it, a map, burned into the skin. lines twisting, pointing north, glyphs pulsing faint under the flesh. Night fell, couldn't sleep, hum growing, stepped outside, heard it, an echo, soft from the woods. My voice, slow, calling me back to the circle, deep and wrong. Ran inside, bolted the door, breath ragged, checked the map, saw it shift, tighten. A cave marked, my legs itching, urging me north, hum drilling my bones. Next day, I hiked, followed it, couldn't stop, found the cave, dark, gaping, walls slick with slime, voices whispering from within, not human, older than time. Entered, felt, them, vast, unseen. You opened it, skull cracking, limbs bending, saw shapes, too many angles, eyes unblinking, starlight bleeding from their forms. Woke outside, dawn gray, body wrong, joints creaking, extra, fingers too long, veins, glowing faint, map burned deeper, hum echoing loud, pulling me back. Next morning, a ranger vanished, Pete, gruff, steady, truck empty by the trail, keys bent, radio silent, his name scratched into the dirt, faint, green at the edges. Days blurred, hum constant, cave nightly, closer, found growths on my arms, hard, pulsing, waking with moss in my mouth. No memory of leaving the bed. Called the station, no answer, line dead, drove out, found it shut, windows dark, town quiet, like it had emptied out, just pines and whispers swallowing it whole. Back home, cabin trashed, map torn, found a stone on my floor, not mine, carved with glyphs, wet with slime, my name etched in its face, deep and glowing. Night came, cave called, hum outside, shaking. The walls, heard it, my voice, warped, chanting, we wait, echo splitting my skull, drowning my screams. Another gone, Sarah, the clerk, found her pack by my porch, shredded, burned, her name scratched out, mine carved in, jagged, dripping green at the edges. I fought it, stayed in, lantern blazing, woke with my boots on, standing in the cave, growth spreading, no memory of walking, hum deafening now. Fled, 50 miles, new town, checked a motel, cash down, room stale, thought I'd escaped, but the hum followed, rattling the frame, glyphs glowing through the dark. Next night, it spoke, my voice, not mine, through the wind. You're the key. Walls bent, glyphs crawling up, veins pulsing bright, mirror showing me, eyeless, vast. Friends kept vanishing, called their lines. Got silence. Found Pete's badge in my sink, melted. His name gone. Mine etched in its place. Metal warm to the touch. I burned the map. Fire flared. Glyphs glowed. Cave loomed in my mind. Light flooding. Growth searing. Pulling me toward. It. Whispers splitting my skull. Fought back. Ran. Truck screaming. Hit a gas station, 70 miles out. Hid. But the hum tracked me. Lights dimming. Workers staring. Their limbs bending long. Eyeless. Next dawn. Woke in the woods, parked at the circle, door open, stones there, humming, glyphs circling my growths, sky bending above, cracking wide. Stones pulsed, low, alive, heard it, my voice, one more step, town's faces. In the light, eyeless, reaching, hands pulling from the glow, dragging me to the cave. Cops came, called it fatigue, locked me up, cell cold, but the hum stayed, stones outside the bars, map in my bunk, rewritten, my name in every glyph, growth spreading fast. They let me out, eval, breakdown, moved east, 150 miles, new. Cabin, but last night the circle hit my yard, hum shaking the floor, echoes in my ears. Miss us? Stone under my door, glyphs wet, green. I hear voices now, circling my house, My name chanting, promising the void, promising no return. They say it's done. Docs show me charts. But I see that light in every shadow, hear that hum in every gust, feel those growths crawling up my chest. I don't sleep. Keep the lantern on, hands wrapped, doors locked. But the stones keep coming, one every night, each one darker, hungrier, heavier. Last gate. That's the latest. Left last night. Stone pinned with a root, dripping green at the edges, staining my floor. Echoes, tapping outside. I've got a shotgun now, loaded by the bed. But the hum doesn't stop. The cave waits, and I know it's out there, calling me back to the stars to finish what I opened.